Hi guys, ready to start making our fruit empanadas. Now I will direct you to my videos for how to roll out your pastry and how to make your pastry if you are wanting to make the pastry as well. Otherwise you can use ready-made pastry, that's absolutely fine. We're working with short crust pastry today, which is very different to our other pastries like puff pastry. Now I've lined my tray with some paper, and you'll see that I've got folds all across my paper. Now one of the things that I hate is when my paper rolls up into a ball, this stops it from doing that. So I've made some crisscross folds as well as some folds up and down, and then when I put my parchment paper into the bottom, it doesn't fold up or into a cylinder. Right guys, so I've got my fillings ready, I've got my cutters ready, and I've got some water for making it, and I've got a fork to seal my little empanadas. So once you've got everything ready, I've got my pastry from earlier that I've rolled out, and it's about the thickness of a pound. I've got my baking tray ready, and I'm going to start showing you how to do everything that you need to do. You are going to want to use the larger cutter, because we are going to fold these over like little half moon shapes, and that is easier when you are using one of the bigger shapes. Now there are two schools of thoughts. Traditionally, pastry that was savory on the inside or had a savory filling, we used a cutter that was smooth, that had smooth edges. If your filling is sweet or was sweet, you used a fluted cutter. But to be honest, these days I don't think many people know that anymore, so you can use whatever you have at home. Guys, please, you do not have to have cutters to make these. You can use a glass. It does give it a flatter sort of edge, but if you twist the glass, you will get it cut out. And if you pop this edge of it in some flour beforehand and then use it, it won't stick either. You can take a round shape like a small saucer or a lid of something, and you can use a knife to cut round the edge. So please guys, don't think that you have to have cutters for baking. You can always make a plan. Alright guys, so I've got my pastry ready and I've got my cutter ready. I just wanted to show you what I do with the flour and the cutter, just so that the cutter doesn't stick to the flour, to the pastry when I'm cutting. I just have some flour that I roll or wiggle the cutter around in before I start to use it. Right, I'm then going to place my cutter as close to the edge of my pastry as possible, and every time I move it round, I'm going to leave as little space between them as possible so that we don't waste pastry, because our first rolling out of our pastry is always going to give us the best little pastry pies. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of mine, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Right, so I've done that, and what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to lift out all the pastry that I have around the edges of my pies. Now I'm going to roll this out again, but what I would like to do is to just brush off any of that excess flour, because as I said to you, it will stop the pastry when it's rolled out again from sticking to itself. So please just brush off any extra flour before you bring it back into a ball. Right guys, now I just wanted to show you what I was in a rush, and I was rolling out everything, but I didn't wait for my pastry to relax back from the gluten, because it is like an elastic, guys, so it stretches. And this is my second rolling out, or pastry from my second rolling out, and you can see that it's now oval in shape because I didn't wait for it to shrink back and lift it enough. It actually has deformed the shape, but I'm still going to use it, I'm still going to make it. Any deformed pastry, I say, is for bakers and for chefs. It's cook's priority. And then I had a chunk left over, which I've also just flattened out, and that's also for the chef. So please don't throw dough away, make one, and any ones that are deformed or odd in shape that you don't want to serve are for you. Right guys, so I have some water ready here, just in a little bowl, so I can use my fingers. You can use a pastry brush if you want to, but I do find my fingers much easier. I then have my two fillings ready. One is a lemon curd, and I've got some chocolate spread because we're making sweet empanadas. But these are very, very easy to just make into savory ones. So if you have some leftovers, some leftover chicken, chorizo, anything like that, you can make a savory filling for these too. Right, so before I start putting the filling on them, I'm just going to dip my finger into some water, and I'm going to go around the edges of my pastry. If you do this first, it actually is easier than once you've got the filling in the middle, and you tend to get filling all over your finger when you try and do this once the filling is on. But you can do it either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of them. Right guys, I've done that with all of them, and now I'm going to do my filling. So I'm going to take about a teaspoon of filling, and that's going to go in the center of each one. Please don't put too much in. You just need a dollop on the center. If you put too much in, it is literally just going to ooze out the side. And I'm going to be using my lemon curd and the chocolate, so I'm going to do half and half, and I'll come back and show you. Alright guys, so I've done that. I've popped a teaspoon of filling on each of my circles, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold them over and put them onto the baking parchment, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Right, so we're going to take one of our little pies. Be very careful to go all the way over, and then you're going to match up the edges, making sure that the filling stays on the inside. This is why we don't put in too much filling, guys, because as soon as you fold it over, it's going to fill everything in the little pie. So you're just going to take your fingers. Now there are different ways in which you can seal your little pies. You can either take a fork and do that all the way around. My mum used to put apricot jam in these. We didn't call them empanadas though, but she used to put apricot jam in these, and then just do that on the top of each of them. Right, so that I know which ones are my chocolate ones and which one are my lemon curd, I have done my chocolate ones with a fork, and I'm going to do my lemon curd with a spoon, the back of a spoon, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So make sure, and guys, this is why we put water around the edges, because our water is going to be our glue on our dough, and we're simply going to push it around. You're also trying to get the air out like that, and once you've got that, you're then going to use the back of a spoon. I've got a tablespoon here, you can use a teaspoon, anything, and I'm going to make little shapes all the way around. Right, so that's what it looks like, and that's going to go straight onto the baking tray. I'm going to finish them all, and then I'm going to finish up the video for you and show you what they look like. Right guys, so mine are now ready to go into the oven at about 200 degrees Celsius, which I have already heated my oven. Now I am going to glaze with a little bit of milk, but feel free to glaze with egg. I like milk just because I hate wasting a whole egg to glaze, because you use very little of it. You can then also pop on some granulated sugar over the top once you have done your milk, but it's not necessary. I'm not going to do that today with mine, because I'm going to decorate mine with icing sugar at the end. So you can use a pastry brush for this, but I just like using my fingers. It's quick and easy. Right, I've done that, I've glazed them. These are now going to go into a 200 degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, or 10 to 15 minutes depending on your oven, guys. Keep an eye on them, check after about 10 minutes. They need to be a light golden brown, and then I'll show you what they look like. Right guys, so those are out of the oven now, and all I'm going to do is put them on a nice plate, and I'm going to sprinkle some icing sugar over them just to make them look pretty. And I've got some extra lemon curd on the side to serve them with as a dipping sauce. I hope you enjoy those, guys. Whatever you fill them with, let me know and send me a picture.